So as an Apple sheep, it's very odd and unique of me to try out this new enemy operating system that is Google's Android. So again, why did I do this? It's because I'm a tech YouTuber, and since I'm getting an audience, I think it's important that I understand both sides of a story before I start critiquing one. I did this in the past because I got a Windows machine. I had a gaming PC for a long time, not anymore though. It was dumb and I sold it, whatever, different story. But the point is, I wanted to try it out so that I felt bilingual with that operating system and OS 10, so that I would be fluid with both, but also when I'm debating with people about which is better, it's OS 10, I could be able to point out specific examples. Here's why, here's what Mac can do, here's what Windows can't. And of course I would know vice versa. I know tons of the benefits of Windows and tons of the cons of Mac, but it's important to know the enemy you're fighting. Gotta know the weak parts. So I'm doing that with Android, and this is not replacing my iPhone. Don't get that impression. I still keep my iPhone with me all the time. However, while I've been using this, the iPhone basically did nothing except act as a personal hotspot for when I wanted to use this on the go. Also for like SMS text messaging, I had to bring out the iPhone for that. But absolutely everything else was done on here. That means that social media, I took pictures on it, I browsed through Twitter, just everything. The reason I chose this phone, the blue Vivo 5, is because it had very high reviews across the board. It was fairly new. It came out early in 2016. And as you can tell, it looks basically exactly like my iPhone. And I wanted it to be like my iPhone so that I would be focused more on the operating system shift and not so much on a hardware shift. Since this felt and looked so much like an iPhone, the switch would be fairly seamless in terms of holding something, but in terms of the operating system, that's what I could focus on. This isn't gonna be a review of the Vivo 5. I mean, it kinda is, but this is more of a first impressions on Android. And what is my overall conclusion? You know what? I am surprised. I refuse to use the term pleasantly surprised because Apple sheep, you know, back here. But I'm gonna say surprised by the sheer amount of customizations you can make on Android. Holy cow, I knew it was customizable, but not nearly as much as it is. You can change every tiny little thing in the operating system that made me realize trying to judge Android is going to be very tricky in the future because it's so many different things. How can you grade it? You can change the apps, the color of the apps, the logo of the app, whether they're transparent or not, the shape of the app, the arrangement of the app, and it doesn't have to be just left to right like an iOS. You can get rid of the text. You can change the text to something it's not. You can have an app launcher. You can not have an app launcher. You can have expandable storage. You can have off-screen gestures that open different things. You can install new launcher apps that make the entire operating system change. You can have those little face chat bubbles move with you when you leave the Messenger app. I've really gotten hooked on that. That's really nice. It taps you quite a bit when you use that keyboard. I've also really learned that OLED displays are really colorful. When I put this thing next to my iPhone, this thing looks gorgeous in terms of color. And originally I was really afraid of having a 720p screen on a phablet-sized phone, but with this I realized that's fine. And it's really made me question why people put quad HD screens on phablet phones. When holding the iPhone next to this thing, the resolution is barely noticeable between 720p and 1080. 1080 is plenty, and honestly, if it meant the phone could be cheaper, I'd be fine with a 720p display. It looks great. Other than the occasional, like when you hold it up really close, you're not gonna notice the pixels. So 1080p is fine. So why are all these companies putting quad HD on there? That's such a waste. I don't get it, but whatever. We're talking about this one. I have good eyes, okay? And I know when a screen is good, this one is great. And you know, the Vivo 5 isn't even a flagship phone. Blue is a pretty moderate company. They're not huge. They don't have a lot of the mainstream features like Android Pay or Touch ID. I know Samsung's all for that curved display type stuff. That opens up new possibilities, but Samsung sucks, so whatever. Now the big question, of course, is does this beat out the iPhone for me? Of course not. Shut up. Don't even ask that question. I don't want to start comparing them yet because I just wanted this video to explain Android is a lot better than I thought. That's about as generous as I'm gonna get. The amount of things you can enable on it and change within it is really quite amazing. But that's interesting to me because I'm a techie nerd guy who runs a tech channel and has collectibles. I don't understand the popularity of Android because most everyday people don't want to have to build their own operating system. What I told my friends about it is that it's like constantly fixing the operating system. It's like when I open it, I don't see potential, I see this is broken. Luckily, Android is super customizable so I can fix everything, but to me, it wasn't like playing with your phone. It was like making sure everything was working right. Like you can change the Twitter app to have a Facebook logo and be labeled as Facebook. What's the purpose there? It's kind of like how in Windows you can delete your own operating system. You're opening up so many doors that some of them are doors to hell that mean death. Why is that that an option. So of course I could go on forever about things that are wrong with Android, but I'm gonna keep this on the positive. I'm very happy with this phone. It's light, it's a solid build. If you're one of those people who are dumb enough to get Android, or for some reason you have to get Android, I'd recommend this one. Very solid phone. People online like it too, so there you go. In later videos, I'll definitely be comparing why iOS is still better than Android, but that's for another time. Thanks for sticking with this one, and this is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.